Hi, hello, welcome to another one of our read-alongs. Are we up to number 13 now? I think we're up to number 13. Our read-along, as you well know, is The Wind in the Willows, written by Kenneth Grahame. And I am using the Wordsworth edition. Tonight we are all starting chapter 7, Pink Floyd, remember? There he is. Ooh, Pink Floyd. Chapter 7, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. If you can think back to last read along, of course, Toad had just been caught. He'd stolen a car. Grand Theft Auto. Oh my goodness. So, yeah, he had just been put in or taken in front of the magistrate and put in the deepest dungeon in the grossest castle. Horrible place, hadn't he? He'd just been put in there. I'm guessing that his comrades, his friends, they don't know where he is, do they? Because he just, like, Rat went off down to the town to get some medicine or something, didn't he? Or the doctor. The other two had gone out for a walk. When they got back, Toad wasn't... Excuse me, hiccups, I'm so excited. Toad wasn't there. They don't know. He's been banged up in the clink. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Mine starts on page 133, but it's the start of chapter 7. Let's go. Before I start as well, hopefully tonight I'm not sounding like a robot. I don't know why I sounded like a robot last night. Here's my microphone. Hello, hello. Can you hear me all right? Do I sound like a robot? Hopefully not. The willow wren was twittering his thin little song, hidden himself in the dark selvage of the riverbank. Though it was past 10 o'clock at night, the sky still clung to and retained some lingering skirts of light from the departed day, and the sullen heats of the torrid afternoon broke up and rolled away at the dispersing touch of the cool fingers of the short midsummer night. I do love midsummer nights. Mole lay stretched on the bank, still panting from the stress of the fierce day that had been cloudless from dawn to late sunset, and waited for his friend to return. He had been on the river with some companions, leaving the water rat free to keep an engagement of long standing with Otter, and he had come back to find the house dark and deserted and no sign of Rat, who was doubtless keeping it up late with his old comrade. It was still too hot to think of staying indoors, so he lay on some cool dock leaves and thought over the past day and its doings and how very good they had all been. The rat's light footfall was presently heard approaching over the parched grass. "Oh, the blessed coolness," he said, and sat down, gazing thoughtfully into the river, silent and preoccupied. "You stayed to supper, of course," said the mole presently. "Simply had to," said the rat. "They wouldn't hear of my going before. You know how kind they always are, and they made things as jolly for me as ever they could, right up to the moment I left. But I felt a brute all the time, and it was clear to me they were very unhappy, though they tried to hide it. Mole, I'm afraid they're in trouble. Little Portly is missing again, and you know what a lot his father thinks of him, though he never says much about it." "What, the child?" said Mole lightly. "Well, suppose he is. Why worry about it? He's always straying off and getting lost and then turning up again. He's so adventurous. But no harm ever happens to him. Everybody hereabouts knows him and likes him just as they do old Otter. And you may be sure some animal or other will come across him and bring him back again all right. Why, we've found him ourselves miles from home and quite self-possessed and cheerful." "Yes, but this time it's more serious," said the rat gravely. "He's been missing for some days now, and the otters have hunted everywhere, high and low, without finding the slightest trace. And have asked every animal, too, for miles around, and no one knows anything about him. Otter's evidently more anxious than he'll admit. I got out of him that young Portly hasn't learned to swim very well yet, and I can see he's thinking of the where. There's a lot of water coming down still, considering the time of year, and the place always had a fascination for the child. And then there are, well, traps and things, you know. Otter's not the fellow to be nervous about any son of his before it's time. And now he's nervous When I left, he came out with me, said he wanted some air and talked about stretching his legs, but I could see it wasn't that, so I drew him out and pumped him and got it all from him at last. He was going to spend the night watching by the ford. You know, the place where the old ford used to be in bygone days before they built the bridge. Oh, I know it well, said the mole, but why should Otter choose to watch there? Well, it seems that is where he gave Portly his first swimming lesson, continued the rat. From that shallow, gravely spit near the bank, and it was there he used to teach him fishing, and there young Portly caught his first fish, of which he was so very proud. The child loved the spot, and Otter thinks that if he came wandering back from wherever he is, if he is anywhere by this time, poor little chap, he might make it for the ford that he was so fond of, or if he came across it, he'd remember it well and stop there and play perhaps. So Otter goes there every night and watches, on the chance, you know, just on the chance. They were silent for a time, both thinking of the same thing, the lonely, heart-sore animal crouched by the ford, watching and waiting the long night through on the chance. Well, well, said the rat presently, I suppose we ought to be thinking about turning in. But he never offered to move. Rat, said the mole, I simply can't go and turn in and go to sleep and do nothing, even though there doesn't seem anything to be done. We'll get the boat out, and we'll paddle upstream. The moon will be up in an hour or so, and then we will search as well as we can. Anyhow, it will be better than going to bed and doing nothing. Just what I was thinking myself, said the rat. It's not the sort of night for bed, anyhow, and daybreak is not very far off, and then we may pick up some news from him, from early risers as we go along. They got the boat out, and the rat took the sculls, paddling with caution. Out in mid-stream there was a clear, narrow track that faintly reflected the sky, but wherever shadows fell on the water from bank, bush or tree, they were as solid to all appearance as the banks themselves, and the mole had to steer with judgment accordingly. Dark and deserted as it was, the night was full of small noises, song and chatter and rustling, telling of the busy little population who were up and about, plying their trades and vocations through the night till sunshine should fall on them at last and send them off to their well-earned repose. The water's own noises, too, were more apparent than by day, its gurglings and cloops more unexpected and near at hand, and constantly they started at what seemed a sudden clear call from an actual articulate voice. The line of the horizon was clear and hard against the sky, and in one particular quarter it showed black against a silvery climbing phosphorescence that grew and grew. At last, over the rim of the waiting earth, the moon lifted with slow majesty till it swung clear of the horizon and rode off, free of moorings, and once again they began to see surfaces, meadows, widespread and quiet gardens, and the river itself from bank to bank, all softly disclosed, all washed clean of mystery and terror, all radiant again as by day, but with a difference that was tremendous. Their old haunts greeted them again in other raiment, as if they were slipped away and put on this pure new apparel and come quietly back, smiling as they shyly waited to see if they would be recognised again under it. Fastening their boat to a willow, the friends landed in this silent silver kingdom and patiently explored the hedges, the hollow trees, the runnels and their little culverts, the ditches and dry waterways. Embarking again and crossing over, they worked their way up the stream in this manner, while the moon, serene and detached in a cloudless sky, did what she could, though so far off, to help them in their quest. Till her hour came and she sank earthwards reluctantly and left them, and mystery once more held field and river. Oh, he does paint a good picture with his words. Then a change began slowly to declare itself. The horizon became clearer, field and tree came more into sight, and somehow with a different look. The mystery began to drop away from them. A bird piped suddenly and was still, and a light breeze sprang up and set the reeds and bulrushes rustling. Rat, who was in the stern of the boat, while Mole sculled, sat up suddenly and listened with a passionate intentness. Mole, who with gentle strokes was just keeping the boat moving while he scanned the banks with care, looked at him with curiosity. It's gone, sighed the rat, sinking back in his seat again. So beautiful and strange and new, since it was to end so soon. I almost wish I'd never heard it, for it has roused a longing in me that is pain, and nothing seems worthwhile but just to hear that sound once more and go on listening to it forever. No, there it is again, he cried, alert once more. Entranced, he was silent for a long space, spellbound. Now it passes on, and I begin to lose it, he said presently. Oh, Mole, the beauty of it, the merry bubble and joy, the thin, clear, happy call of the distant piping. Such music I've never dreamed of, and the call in it is stronger even than the music is sweet. Row on, Mole, row, for the music and the call must be for us. The Mole, greatly wondering, obeyed. I hear nothing myself, he said, but the wind playing in the reeds and the rushes. The rat never answered. If indeed he heard, rapt, transported, trembling, he was possessed in all his senses by this new divine thing that caught up his helpless soul and swung and dandled it, a powerless but happy infant in a strong, sustaining grasp. In silence, Mole rowed steadily, and soon they came to a point where the river divided, a long backwater branching off to one side. With a slight movement of his head, Rat, who had long dropped the rudder lines, directed the rower to take the backwater. The creeping tide of light gained and gained, and now they could see the colour of the flowers that gemmed the water's edge. Clearer and nearer still, cried the rat joyously. Now you must surely hear it. Ah, at last I see you do. Breathless and transfixed, the Mole stopped rowing as the liquid run of that glad piping broke on him like a wave, caught him up and possessed him utterly. He saw the tears on his comrade's cheeks and bowed his head and understood. For a space they hung there, brushed by the purple loosestrife that fringed the bank, then the clear, imperious summons that marched hand in hand with the intoxicating melody imposed its will on Mole, and mechanically he bent to his oars again, and the light grew steadily stronger, but no birds sang as they were wont to do at the approach of dawn, and, but for the heavenly music, all was marvellously still. Well, there you go. What, like I said, halfway through that, sorry for interrupting the read, but doesn't Grahame, I've said it before, paint, I'll say it again, a lovely picture with his words. Just like I was there as I was reading that, and sometimes when you're reading aloud, it's quite tricky to picture it. It's easier when you're reading it in your head or listening to it. But even with Graham's words there, even as I was reading it aloud, I was on that river. I could hear that music that Rat could hear. I could see the moon in the sky. I could feel the sun rising. Oh, gosh. Oh, it made a funny noise with my throat then as well. I meant to make that, but I went as well. Anyway, look at me. It's obviously not a night where Mr. S waffles much. So, in that case, tomorrow is... Hey, I'm at that school tomorrow. I haven't been there for ages because I was ill, so I missed my 2 Fridays. I'm there tomorrow. So, yeah, tomorrow's Friday at that school, and I'll be here in the evening to see you guys. So, love you lots. Let's do this. Let's do this. Oh, it don't work. What about with double thumbs? There's always something, isn't there? Hang on. I can fix this whilst I'm talking to you. Yep. Right, here we go. Hey, double thumbs. Hey, single thumb. Woo! Thumb down. What else is there? Oh, all right, okay. There you go. We started with Pink Floyd. We ended with Pink Floyd. Night.